And you can take it from here, Brittany. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jackie, thank you for the introduction. I am, as Jackie stated, Brittany Mason. It is on the screen. My email address is on the screen as well. You can make a mental note of that, or Jackie or Rodney can make sure it's in the chat box, just in case you need to ask me a question outside of this presentation, and I'll be glad to answer it or get you to the right person. But I thank you for taking the time out to join us this afternoon to get a general overview of procurement services with the city of Chicago. You will learn today about how to do business with the city of Chicago. Generally, we'll cover the city's mission, the laws that govern our process, a couple of different procurement terms and types of procurement. We'll briefly touch on certification, which is a presentation in itself where you get more full detail from the certification department. We'll talk about contract monitoring and compliance, and we will go over the different programs and bid incentives that we have. We will not talk about those in detail because that also is a presentation in itself, but I will let you know what those programs and incentives are and where to find more information for that outside of the presentation. We'll go over the DPS website, and after that, I'll take any questions and answers that you might have. We in procurement are the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the city of Chicago. There are, under the city's municipal code of Chicago, there are a few departments who have their own authority to procure certain things, but overall, the Department of Procurement Services is the contracting authority for the city. We pledge to work together as a team and with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process, or as Jackie stated, a transparent process as well. And we do this by establishing, communicating, and enforcing some superior business practices. Integrity and public trust and the law are our guiding principles. There are two laws that govern our process. One is a state statute, which is the Municipal Purchasing Act, and it can be found at 65 ILCS represents Illinois Compiled Statute. And 58-10-1 is the section that goes into detail about the laws governing the process. The other authority is a city ordinance, which are what we call our home rule authority. It's the Municipal Code of Chicago, and specifically Chapter 292 of that code is what relates to procurement. Some terms which you may have heard of or you have seen on the DPS website if you've been on there is the first term is contract. Contract, as you may already know, is the ultimate written agreement between the city and the vendor for the provision of goods and services to the city by that vendor. There are a number of different forms of contracts, and we will talk about some of those contracts relating to procurement, different procurement vehicles. A competitive bid is where you will see what we call the bid package. And the bid package is that set of documents that the city issues to solicit bids for goods and services. Ultimately, that document becomes the contract in a competitive bid. An addendum would be any changes to the city's requirements as it relates to the invitation to bid, a request for qualification, or a request for proposal. An addendum is issued by procurement to everyone who has, prior to COVID, picked up a bid package from the bid and bond room. However, now we've shifted towards our iSupplier system or e-procurement. Everything is done in e-procurement. And so the addendum will be issued to everyone who has signed up, creating an account on e-procurement. Then there's amendment or modification. The amendment or modification document formally changes the terms and conditions of the ultimate contract. And there are a number of forms of amendments that we do to contract, but the most common And a construction contract, for example, would be a change order. Types of procurement. We have a small order procurement. We have competitive bids, as I mentioned before, request for proposals, request for qualifications, and job order contracts. These small orders contracts are kind of what it sounds like. Typically, a contract that's larger than a small order would be greater than or equal to $100,000. In this case, the small orders contract is procurement of goods that's less than $100,000. We do require MBEWBE compliance for bids that's over $10,000. So if the contract or solicitation for small orders is between 10 and 100,000, we do require the department to look into minority and with women business enterprise participation on the contract. A competitive bid is for solicitations equal to or over $100,000. And the advertisements always appear in the daily classified sections of the newspaper. They appear on our website at www.chicago.gov and procurement. Also, they show up in the bid and buy room in City Hall, which is room 103, which is currently closed due to COVID-19. That may change at some time in the future. Bid solicitation period is between 10 to 30 calendar days, and sometimes you have to provide a deposit. If a deposit is required for a bid, the bid package or bid documents will indicate such. In a competitive bid, we have what we call pre-bids, which could include site inspection of a work location, if that's applicable, after a pre-bid meeting. It is optional. Sometimes it will be made mandatory, depending on what the city is procuring. But what you will find in these pre-bid meetings are you're able to review the specifications. You can address some concerns regarding the specification. You can ask questions and receive answers. And we always encourage bidders to attend. We highly encourage you to attend because there's a lot of useful and helpful information in these pre-bid meetings. And if you have a question, you definitely can get it answered that way. It may result in an addendum or clarification being issued to answer questions regarding the documents. We touched on addendum before, where it's changes to the actual solicitation document. If the city issues a clarification, that just means that we'll make clearer something in the solicitation document that may not be as clear to you. However, that type of response doesn't change the terms of the document. If there is not a pre-bid meeting, we encourage you to review the specification and the contract documents during the solicitation period, which you will also see in the bid documents. And then you will contact the Department of Procurement Services, the contract administrator. The contract administrator will also be on the procurement documents and also in the bid advertisement. So if you have any questions about the bid documents, you can also do it this way. That also may result in an addendum or clarification to the contract. In your bid documents, please be sure when you're responding that you fill in all information that's required. Certain bid documents have to be submitted and executed with the bid, and if not, your bid could be rejected. So you want to look out and read the documents thoroughly to say what must be submitted with the bid, what does not have to be submitted with the bid. And you always want to make sure your document is signed, executed, and notarized. Bid bonds or bid deposits may be required for some types of bids. The bid packages or bid documents will tell you whether or not that's required. It will not exceed 10% of the contract amount, and it has to be submitted in the proper form. Cash is not accepted. Bids have to be timely, and it has to be presented on the bid opening date. Opening dates are Monday through Friday, no major holidays, typically 11 a.m. They are read in the bid and bond room on 103, but again, in room 103, but again, that is closed due to COVID. So now everything is occurring virtually. Bids are opened, they're read aloud, the bids are tabulated. The bid tabulation and bid documents are reviewed to make sure they are accurate and complete. When you have a competitive bid, they are required to have the most responsive and responsible bidder. So they will be checking to make sure you are responsive to that bid. Bid tabulations can be viewed online at DPS website 24 hours after the bid opening has occurred. How does the award process work? Well, when the bids are taken in, provided that your bid is timely and you've submitted all that you needed to submit and it's executed and notarized, a determination will be made whether you're responsive and responsible. The user department will make a recommendation of award. And if that award is acceptable, the bids are packaged. The bid and contract documents are routed through what we call the signature and approval process. Who has to sign the documents? The chief procurement officer, the mayor's office, the comptroller. That is the signature approval process. Contract performance and payment bonds, insurance and funding agency concurrence for award, if that is applicable, that will also be obtained. The contract, as we stated before, will be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder meeting city specifications. Again, when we say that, we are speaking of competitive bids. Request for proposal is a type of procurement. We use this type of procurement to solicit proposals to implement a new project that requires professional services. We use this form of procurement when the city does not have in-house technical experts or resources to implement the project or the services. In an RFP, we define project objectives and scope of services, but we don't detail every aspect of implementing those projects. We are depending on the vendor to provide us with how they can meet the requirements and detail in some of the information necessary to perform those services. And this type of solicitation requires a detailed evaluation of the proposals by an evaluation committee based on the criteria stated in the RFP. In a competitive bid, we look at the low price as long as you are responsive and responsible. In an RFP, low price is not the only factor. So a contract may be awarded to someone who may not be the lowest bidder because they are more qualified or they more readily are available to meet the requirements or presented a persuasive case to the city that they can meet those requirements. Award is made to the highest rated or ranked respondents in an RFP. Request for qualifications. This method is used to solicit qualifications from companies who possess a high degree of technical expertise and knowledge in specific disciplines. The city will pre-qualify companies and build what we call a vendor pool. So we will get a contract out to all those individuals in the vendor pool, and task orders will be issued. Task orders will be issued to the pool, and the vendors will have the opportunity to respond to future task orders for individual projects, and the city will select based on that. And evaluation and selection of how you end up in the pool is based on qualifications and technical competence. For architecture and engineering, or A&E, request for qualifications, we don't require a cost proposal. A fee schedule will be later negotiated as part of that larger master agreement that I was referring to. And this approach is most commonly used for architectural and engineering design contracts and certain categories of consulting. The JOP, or job order contract. It is a form of competitive bid for construction. A firm, fixed price, competitively bid, indefinite quantity contract, and is designed for each department's construction program. It's used to accomplish small to medium-sized projects. Instead of the department bidding out every small or medium construction job and developing plans with technical specifications, the department will use the JOP. A general contractor or contractors are solicited to respond to the JOP that we advertise. And what the JOP contains is a unit price book, which has a number of different construction tasks in it. It has the descriptions of those tasks, the unit of measure, and a unit price for each one of those tasks. The job is awarded to the general contractor offering the most favorable adjustment factor against the price book. And the adjustment factor is based on work performed during normal working hours and then work performed during other than normal working hours. And the value of the job contract really just depends on what the department needs and what their budget looks like. Economic disclosure statements. The city requires economic disclosure statements in response to their solicitations. It addresses the disclosure of ownership. Online completion of the economic disclosure statement is mandatory for most solicitations. The economic disclosure statement is key because it provides us with the information that we need to determine whether or not the city can actually do business with your company. There are certain ordinances that says if these requirements are met, this person is in that, or if they meet certain criteria under the ordinance, that person may be ineligible to do business for the city. So the economic disclosure statement kind of tracks all of that information. Who has to complete the EDS? The person applying for a city contract or the entity applying for the city contract has to complete an EDS, as well as any legal entity which owns more than 7.5% interest direct or indirectly in the applicant firm. They have to file an EDS as well. Certification. We have certification requirements on our contract. Sometimes you will find a contract that says no stated goal, which means that we don't have MBWBE compliance on the contract. And then there's other contracts where we do have MBWBE compliance. Well, who are the entities that participate in those MBWBE goals? It has to be certified firms. So we certify in 6 different areas: minority-owned business, women-owned business, business enterprise owned by people with disabilities, disadvantaged business enterprise. We have airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise, as well as veteran-owned business enterprise. Just again, to go basically how you're eligible, as this is a presentation in itself where the compliance officers and the certification officers will go into more detail. But you have to be at least 51% owned and controlled by qualifying minority, women, veterans, individuals with disabilities, or other disadvantaged individuals. Your business has to be a small business, and that will be defined in the certification regulations. And it has to be independent and viable. And again, there is a description of what it means to be independent and viable, or not being independent and viable in the certification regulations, which you can find online at the City of Chicago's website. Minority and women and disadvantaged business enterprise participation is governed by the Municipal Code of Chicago, as well as the Code of Federal Regulations. For all contracts that are other than construction, it's governed under 292-420. For construction contracts, is governed under the Municipal Code Section 292-650. And for participation of disadvantaged businesses on a federally funded project is under Chapter 49 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 26. Every minority, women, or disadvantaged business that performs on a contract has to perform a commercially useful function. What is that? A certified firm performs a commercially useful function when it is responsible for the execution of a distinct element of the work from the contract, which is carried out by actually performing, managing, and supervising the work involved, or fulfilling responsibilities as a joint venture. You can request a reduction or waiver of those compliance requirements. However, you have to show that you have made a good faith effort to incorporate these minority, women, and disadvantaged businesses on your contract. In the contract, you will find a document called special conditions. Special conditions will walk you through what's required for reduction or waiver, what it means to have made, or the steps that you must take to show that you've made good faith efforts. A contractor will not be entitled to a reduction or waiver of MBE or WBE goals during the performance of the contract, after substantial completion of the contract, or at the time that the contract is closed out, unless in writing they have made a request to the CPO for a reduction of that waiver. And a contractor that's seeking a waiver or reduction of MBE or WBE goals has to demonstrate to the satisfaction of the CPO that it has made good faith efforts to meet its MBE WBE utilization goal. Our compliance team monitors the performance of the MBE, WBE, or DBE on the contract per the compliance plan. They also monitor Chicago residency ordinance requirements and equal employment commitments on city contracts. What the Chicago residency ordinance is if there's a construction contract that's estimated at $100,000 or more, and is funded by the city of Chicago, then it is a requirement that 50% of the vendor's total work hours have to be performed by residents of the city of Chicago. And 7.5% of the total work hours have to be performed by project area residents. The equal employment opportunity is a canvassing form. And the purpose is to promote equality of opportunity for minority and female personnel on the city-funded construction projects as an award criteria determination. And it has to be inserted into each specification that's over $100,000 or more. There is, for canvassing purposes, a limit to what you can project on the contract, and that's just for determining the award criteria determination. However, the city encourages you to utilize more journey workers on the contract and tradesmen on the contract. And bidders are invited to propose the minority and female utilization goals that you're capable of meeting. And it is important to be honest about what you can meet, because you are held accountable on the contract when you propose a certain number of minority and female journey workers and tradesmen. Ways to achieve compliance. You can achieve compliance by being the prime on the contract if you're an MBE, WBE, or DBE, or you can joint venture with an MBE, WBE, or DBE. You can subcontract out a certain portion of the work to an MBE, WBE, or DBE. You can also purchase materials that are used in the performance of the contract for MBE, WBE, or DBE. There are reporting requirements under the contract. The prime contractor is responsible for submitting monthly subcontractor payment certification forms, weekly certified payrolls, waivers of lien. Summary workshop recap report programs. Small business initiative construction, mid-sized business initiative construction, non-construction MBI program, diversity credit program, target market program, mentor protege program, MBE, WBE phase graduation program. Those are the programs that the city has. If you want to find out more detail about these programs, again, you can find it on DPS's website. You can email me, and then you can also reach out to Jackie for the date when we will do a presentation on our programs and incentives. Our incentives are the veteran-owned business enterprise, veteran-owned subcontractor utilization, businesses owned by people with disabilities, city-based manufacturers, city-based businesses, apprentice utilization, which also includes the ex-offender program, the alternatively powered fuel vehicles. We have a mentor protege program, project area subcontractor equal employment opportunity, incentive to encourage utilization of MBWB and diverse workforce and management incentives. With these incentives, you either get a be an incentive where if you're the low bidder on the contract and you qualify for one of these incentives, the city will take out a certain percentage on the amount that you bid to determine whether or not you're now the lowest bidder. So you could be the second lowest bidder, but because you qualify for one of these incentives, you now become the lowest bidder and can be awarded the contract if you're responsive. Other incentives, you receive a credit at the end of your performance on the contract, and that credit can be utilized as an incentive to determine whether or not you're the lowest bidder on a future contract. Executive order, there's a new executive order regarding diversity reporting, and basically the city is requiring a ramp up or enhancement on reporting. Contractors have to submit projections as to when and to what extent in the contract certified firms they are expected to be used. They have to include explanation and recovery plan if participation is below that projected usage. There's another component of it regarding the diversity program. Contractors that have agreements with the city, including redevelopment agreements, required to submit annual reports of their business diversity programs, or if you don't have one, your lack thereof. You include information as to expenditure on goods and services for minority-owned firms and women-owned firms during the prior calendar year. And then we have our DPS website, which is a very useful tool. On our website, you can find contracts that we've awarded. You will find the modifications to those contracts, any payments that have been made out to the vendor, bid tabulations, weekly bid opportunities. You can search the MBWBE directory to see which firms are actually certified with the city. You will find the rules and regulations related to our city programs and our bid incentives and other regulations involving procurement right on procurement's website. And that's www.chicago.gov/e-procurement. You will find about our I-supplier system or how to submit documentations online through e-procurement. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jackie to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Brittany. We do have a few questions, and we'll go ahead and get started on that. That one has been answered by Rodney. It was kind of about the business plan. So let me ask this question to the participants. If you have a question for Brittany regarding how to do business with the city of Chicago, feel free to go down to the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and click on Q&A and put your question in the Q&A panel. If you do not see Q&A there, click on the three dots. When the menu comes up, you'll see Q&A, click on it there, type in your question. We'll see how many of the questions that we get. So I just want to say, let me just check and make sure that no one sent me anything privately. And as always, no, I didn't get anything privately there. So as always, Brittany, you have done an awesome job in talking about how to do business with the city of Chicago. And we do not have any further questions unless they're taking a few minutes to write them down. And to type them up and send them to us. So I do want to thank our participants for spending a little time with us today to learn how to do business with the city of Chicago. And as I stated at the beginning of this workshop, we hope that you are able to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are in our buy-in plan because there are a host of opportunities there. The government needs to do business with businesses. So we hope to be able to help in that vein. And so we will definitely like success stories where we hear where people are able to garner any of those contracting opportunities that are out there. So thank you so much, Brittany, for going through that with us. We do have a couple of questions. If you can put your question in Q&A panel, because the chat panel is for Rodney to send things through. If you could put it in the Q&A panel, but I'll read. I got 2 questions. My certification is pending. Can I still do business with the city or apply for opportunities while in pending status? Brittany, did you want to take that, or did you?
And still apply for opportunities with the city if it's in pending status, but what that means is that you being an MDE or WBE won't apply towards compliance goals on a contract. So you can participate, but it won't count as MDE or WBE compliance on, for example, if you're a subcontractor on someone's contract, or if you joint venture with someone, you'll just be operating basically as a firm and not receiving compliance. So you'll have to still make up those compliance requirements.
And are there any additional questions? Well, if not, again, Brittany, thank you so much for imparting that information. And I'll let you, if you have any parting words that you would like to say, this is your time to say them. Brittany, did you want to say anything additional?
Just want to say thank you for taking the time out this afternoon to participate in this presentation, and just encourage you all to just take advantage of the information that you have. If you can't use it, to share it with other people, and don't be afraid to reach out to Jackie or reach out to me personally if you have a question. I know how it can be sometimes, but when you're in the chat with everybody else and not wanting to ask a certain type of questions. So feel free to reach out. I'm always available.
And we thank our attendees for attending today's session. And as I always end, stay safe, stay well, wash your hands, social distance where it applies, wear your mask where it applies. And hopefully we will see you back in City Hall sometime soon. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day on this beautiful day that we have today. Take care, and we will see you soon. Thank you, Brittany. Rodney?
What's up?
Put your camera on, let me see you.
Wow. All right. I'm here.
Did I not press record on that?
No, it says I see the event recording is in progress.
I'm recording now. It said 33 minutes. Did she do that in 33 minutes?
It's 2:47 right now, so yes.
Oh.